He sold my business while smiling at me, and I only found out when a stranger walked into my office and thanked me for the opportunity. I did not shout. I did not fall apart. I did not even ask him why. I just looked at my younger brother and realized that blood does not always mean loyalty. The papers were already signed. The money was already transferred. The trust one gave him was already gone. People think betrayal is loud. It is not. Sometimes it comes quietly, with a handshake, a familiar face, and a voice that says, "Trust me, I've got this." That was his voice. And I believed it. I had built that business from nothing. No investors. No family money. Just long nights, cheap coffee, and a stubborn belief that if I worked hard enough, something good would come. 4 years, it was only me. Then, when things started growing, I brought him in. My younger brother. The one I protected. The one I defended. The one I fed when we had nothing. He was smart. Quick with numbers. Good with people. And he was tired of struggling. I saw that. So I told him, "Come work with me. We'll build this together." He hugged me that day. I still remember the pressure of his arms. Strong. Grateful. Or so I thought. At first, everything was smooth. He handled suppliers. He handled calls. He handled small decisions. I trusted him because he was family, and because he never gave me a reason not to. That was my first mistake. When a man trusts too easily, he teaches others how to use him. The second mistake was giving him access. Access to accounts. Access to contracts. Access to conversations that should have stayed between me and my lawyer. I told myself, he's my brother. What could go wrong? Life has a quiet way of answering foolish questions. Slowly, things began to change. Not in obvious ways. Not in ways that make you panic. Small things. A delayed payment here. A missed email there. A supplier suddenly asking me strange questions. "Did you change ownership?" One of them asked casually on the phone. I laughed. I said no. I thought he was confused. I did not know he was warning me. My brother started acting different too. More confident. More distant. He stopped asking for advice. He stopped sharing details. He started saying, "Don't worry, I've handled it." Those 3 words are dangerous when spoken by the wrong man. At home, he was normal. He joked. He ate at my table. He asked about my day. He talked about the future like we were still a team. At work, he was building his own. Behind my back. The day the buyer walked in, I thought he was a new client. Well-dressed. Polite. Confident. He shook my hand and said, "It's a pleasure to finally meet you. I've heard a lot about your company." I thanked him. I asked how I could help. He smiled and said, "I just wanted to see the place I now own." The room went quiet. I looked at him. I looked at my brother. My brother did not look at me. That was the moment. That was when I understood. My chest did not tighten. My hands did not shake. My mind became very clear. Clear in a way it had never been before. Betrayal has a way of sharpening your thoughts. "What do you mean, you own?" I asked calmly. He glanced at my brother, then back at me. "The purchase went through this morning. 51%. Majority share." I turned to my brother. He finally looked up. He did not apologize. He did not explain. He said, "It was a good deal." That was it. That was his defense. A good deal. I did not speak. I just nodded slowly. The buyer thanked me again and said he would be in touch. Then he left. When the door closed, the silence became heavy. "You sold my business," I said. "Our business," he corrected. "No," I said quietly. "Mine." He leaned back in his chair like a man who had won something. "You were moving too slow. I saw an opportunity." "You used my name," I said. "You trusted me," he replied. And there it was. Not guilt, not shame, just truth. He had planned it. He had waited. He had positioned himself. And he had taken what I spent years building. Not with force. With permission. People think revenge is about anger. It is not. Anger makes you sloppy. Anger makes you loud. Anger makes you predictable. I felt none of that. I felt disappointed. And strangely, calm. Because in that moment, I knew something he did not. He had taken the business. But he had not taken the brain. He had not taken the relationships. He had not taken the patience. And he had not taken the long memory of a man who never forgets who fed him when he was hungry. I looked at him and said, "I hope it was worth it." He smirked. "You'll get over it." I smiled. Maybe. But inside, something had already started. Not anger. Not revenge. Strategy. From that day, I stopped confronting. I stopped questioning. I stopped reacting. I watched. I listened. I learned. Because when someone shows you how far they are willing to go, the smartest thing you can do is let them keep walking. He thought he had won. He had no idea he had just given me the best position I could ever ask for. He thought the hardest part was over for me, but for him, the danger had only begun. I did not confront him again. I did not call lawyers. I did not run to family. I did not cry. I simply went back to work the next morning like nothing had happened. That confused him. Betrayal expects noise. It expects chaos. It expects begging or rage. When it gets silence, it becomes uneasy. I arrived early, as always. I unlocked the door. I made coffee. I reviewed orders. I greeted staff. I played my role. And he watched me. He kept waiting for the explosion. It never came. Instead, I smiled. That smile bothered him more than any argument could have. People don't understand this, but when you stop reacting, you take control. When you stop defending yourself, you start observing others. And I observed everything. How he spoke to clients now, like a man with power. How he interrupted staff. How he started making decisions without consultation. How he enjoyed saying, "I'll handle it," as if the words tasted good in his mouth. Power changes people. It reveals what was always there. At home, he was the same brother. Laughing, eating, talking about small things. He never mentioned the business. He never apologized. He never explained. He acted like nothing had happened. So did I. But inside, I was building a map. Every deal. Every supplier. Every shortcut he took. Every promise he made. I kept them all in my head. I knew the business better than anyone. I knew its weak spots. I knew its strengths. I knew which relationships were personal and which were professional. He knew numbers. I knew people. And people are always the real currency. He started hiring new staff. Young. Cheap. Inexperienced. He wanted control, not quality. He wanted obedience, not loyalty. That was another mistake. I treated those employees well. I listened. I advised. I helped them quietly. They trusted me, not him. One afternoon, a supplier called me directly. Not the company line. My personal phone. He said, "Your brother is pushing for volume we can't sustain." I said, "Thank you for telling me." I did not correct him. I let him talk. The more people talk, the more they reveal. Over the next weeks, similar calls came in. Different voices. Same concern. Pressure. Shortcuts. Promises that sounded too good. I never interfered. I never warned. I just noted. He was building fast. Too fast. Men who rush usually fall. He began acting like the owner. Sitting in my chair. Using my office. Giving instructions as if I was invisible. Staff started coming to me quietly. Is this permanent? Is he in charge now? Should we listen to him or you? I smiled and said, just do your jobs. They nodded, but they remembered. One day, he brought in a consultant. Expensive, loud, confident. The kind of man who sells words more than results. They sat in the meeting room for hours. Doors closed. Voices low. When they came out, my brother was excited. He was talking about expansion. New locations. Bigger contracts. Risky moves. I listened. I nodded. Inside, I smiled. Because I knew that consultant. Not personally. By reputation. He was known for one thing. Big promises. Bigger failures. I had avoided him years ago. My brother embraced him. Experience teaches you when to walk away. Greed teaches you when to run forward. He was running. At family dinners, he started telling stories about success. About deals. About money. About plans. He liked being admired. He liked being heard. I stayed quiet. Our relatives praised him. I smiled. He looked at me with that look. The look that says, see, I did better. I nodded. I let him have it. Because I was not competing with him. I was waiting for him. At night, when the house was quiet, I thought about the years I protected him. The fights I fought for him. The meals I shared with him. The trust one handed him. And I felt no anger. Just clarity. You cannot save someone who is excited to drown. So I stopped trying. One evening, he came home late. Tired. Irritated. He threw his keys on the table. Business is pressure, he said. I said, it always was. He looked at me like he was measuring something. Then he said, you could have done more with it. I said, I did enough. He laughed. Not kindly. That laugh told me everything. He did not respect me. He did not value me. He only used me. And that was fine. Because when a man underestimates you, he gives you room to move. From that day, I became smaller. Quieter. Less visible. I let him think I was defeated. I let him think I was broken. I let him think he had won. He did not know that every word he spoke, every move he made, every mistake he committed was being stored. Not for revenge. For balance. Because real justice is not loud. It is precise. And precision takes time. He was building his empire on borrowed trust. I was building mine on patience. And patience always lasts longer. He thought I was finished, but I was only getting quiet. Silence is dangerous when it belongs to the man who built everything. I watched him settle into power. I watched him grow comfortable. I watched him become careless. Men who believe they are untouchable always start leaving fingerprints. He started cutting corners. Not big ones. Small ones. The kind that feel harmless at first. A delayed payment here. A verbal promise instead of a written one there. A favor for a friend. A shortcut for speed. Every shortcut has a cost. He just did not know who would be paying it. One morning, he walked into the office and told everyone we were changing suppliers. No discussion. No warning. No evaluation. Just decision. I asked him why. He said, better margins. I nodded. But I knew the old supplier. I knew their loyalty. I knew their history with us. I knew the personal trust behind the contracts. He did not. He only saw numbers. That same afternoon, the old supplier called me. His voice was calm, but hurt. We worked with you for years, he said. Now we're nothing? I said, I understand. He paused. Do you? Yes, I said. And I meant it. Because I understood betrayal very well by then. I did not interfere. I did not fix it. I did not argue. I let it break. Because broken things reveal weak hands. Over the next weeks, small problems started appearing. Late deliveries, confused staff, miscommunication, tension. He blamed everyone but himself. That told me something. A man who never takes responsibility is building on sand. One evening, he called me into the office. He closed the door. "You're not pulling your weight," he said. I looked at him calmly. "I've been here every day." "You're not proactive," he replied. "You don't bring ideas." I smiled slightly. "You don't ask." He did not like that. Power hates being questioned. He leaned forward. "This is my operation now. You either support it or get out of the way." I nodded. Understood. That satisfied him. He did not know he had just given me permission. From that day, I stepped back. I did less. I spoke less. I became background. And he became louder. He began bragging. To friends. To contacts. To anyone who would listen. He talked about expansion, about future plans, about wealth. People congratulated him. I watched. Success without humility is always temporary. He started trusting the wrong people. Men who smiled too quickly. Men who agreed too easily. Men who smelled opportunity more than partnership. I recognized them. Predators always recognize each other. He did not. One afternoon, I overheard a call. He was in his office. Door open. Voice raised. "I don't care how you do it," he said. "Just make it happen." That line is dangerous. When a man stops caring how, he has already accepted consequences. I wrote it down. Not on paper. In memory. Later that week, a longtime client asked to meet me privately. Not him. Me. We sat at a small table. He leaned in. "Your brother is making promises he can't keep," he said. "He's overcommitting." I looked at him. "Why are you telling me?" "Because I trust you," he replied. "And because I don't trust him." I nodded. Trust. That word again. It followed me like a shadow. At home, the atmosphere changed. He became impatient. Short-tempered. Restless. He ate quickly. Spoke quickly. Slept little. Pressure was working on him. I stayed calm. Pressure sharpens the mind of the patient. It cracks the mind of the greedy. One night, he snapped at me over something small. A comment. A joke. Nothing. I looked at him and said quietly, "Careful." He laughed. "Or what?" I smiled. Nothing. That confused him. Because men like him expect threats. They do not understand warnings. He started spending money. New clothes. New car. New habits. He was celebrating success that had not yet survived. I said nothing. Because I had seen this before. Men who spend future money are already bankrupt in their minds. At work, the staff became uneasy. Turnover increased. Complaints grew. Confusion spread. He blamed them. I listened to them. That difference matters. One young employee came to me one evening. Nervous. Hesitant. "I don't feel safe speaking up," he said. I said, "You don't have to." He exhaled. "Thank you." He left. And he remembered. People always remember who made them feel safe. I began receiving small pieces of information. Casual comments. Offhand remarks. Warnings disguised as jokes. I gathered them. Not like a hunter. Like a gardener. Patiently. Because what I was growing did not need force. It needed time. My brother thought I was fading. I was focusing. He thought I was weak. I was steady. He thought I had accepted defeat. I had accepted opportunity. Because betrayal does not end a man. It reveals him. And once a man is revealed, he can be predicted. By the end of that month, I knew his patterns. His habits. His blind spots. His pressure points. He still did not know mine. That was the balance. That was the advantage. And that was when I realized something important. He did not just betray me. He replaced me. And men who replace others always fear being replaced. I saw it in his eyes, in his posture, in his tone. Fear wears confidence like a costume. Soon, that costume would slip. And when it did, I would be ready. Not with anger. Not with revenge. With calm. With precision. With the quiet certainty of a man who knows that time is not the enemy. Time is the tool. He thought taking my business was the end of the story, but for me, it was only the opening chapter. When a man loses what he built, he either becomes bitter or becomes careful. I chose careful. The office no longer felt like mine. The walls were the same. The desks were the same. Even the smell of coffee was the same. But something had shifted. Ownership has a feeling. When it leaves, you can sense it. He sat where I used to sit. He signed where I used to sign. He spoke where I used to speak. And everyone noticed. I did not correct them. I did not claim anything. I let him wear the crown. Because crowns are heavy. And heavy things fall. I started arriving later. Not late. Just later. I stopped staying after hours. I stopped volunteering. I stopped offering solutions. He liked that. It made him feel bigger. Men like him do not want help. They want control. So I gave him control. Fully. At first, he enjoyed it. He walked with confidence. He spoke with authority. He made changes quickly. He did not consult. He did not hesitate. Speed became his identity. But speed without direction is just movement. And movement without purpose leads in circles. The staff started whispering. Not loudly. Not openly. Quietly. In corners. In hallways. In breaks. I never asked. They told me anyway. Things feel unstable. He changes his mind a lot. He promises things then forgets. He gets angry quickly. I nodded. I never repeated. Trust grows in silence. One afternoon, he announced a big contract. Huge. He was proud. He called a meeting. He spoke like a leader. He painted a future. Everyone clapped. I watched his hands. They were shaking. Not from excitement. From pressure. He had promised more than he could deliver. I knew it. He knew it. But pride does not let men admit weakness. That contract became his obsession. He talked about it constantly. He checked on it hourly. He micromanaged every detail. Pressure was tightening. At home, he became restless. He paced. He checked his phone constantly. He snapped at small things. Once he said, "You wouldn't understand this level of responsibility." I looked at him and said calmly, "You're right." That pleased him. But it was also true. He did not understand my level of responsibility. Mine included him. His never included me. That difference was everything. I began spending more time with old contacts. Not business. Just coffee. Just conversation. Just connection. I did not talk about him. They did. "Your brother is ambitious," one said carefully. "Yes," I replied. "He's aggressive," another said. I smiled. He always was. They exchanged looks. When people exchange looks, it means they share a concern they are not saying. I did not push. I let it hang. Because people reveal more when they feel safe. And they felt safe with me. One evening, I stayed late. Not to work. To watch. He was in his office. Door closed. Voice raised. Arguing with someone on the phone. "I don't care what you think," he said. "I already promised." Pause. "No, I can't back out." Pause. "Figure it out." He hung up hard. He rubbed his face. For a moment, he looked tired. almost human. Then the mask went back on. Confidence, control, authority. That mask was heavy. I could see it weighing him down. The next day, a delivery was late. Staff panicked. He shouted. He blamed. He threatened. I watched. Not with satisfaction. With understanding. Men who lead with fear always stand alone. And he was standing very alone. At lunch, an employee sat near me. He whispered, "He scares people." I said nothing. But I heard everything. Fear does not build loyalty. It builds exits. Slowly, people started preparing their exits. Updating resumes. Taking calls. Looking elsewhere. He did not see it. He was too busy looking up. He forgot to look around. One afternoon, he confronted me again. "You seem detached," he said. "I am," I replied. "Why?" I looked at him. "Because you asked me to get out of the way." He paused, then laughed. "Don't be dramatic." I smiled. Because he still thought this was about emotion. He still thought I was hurt. He did not understand that I was free. Free from responsibility. Free from pressure. Free from expectation. And that freedom gave me vision. I could see his mistakes clearly. I could see his weaknesses clearly. And I could see his future. It was not bright. It was busy. And busy hides danger. He began making deals without reading details. Signing without review. Trusting without verification. He was rushing. Rushing men trip. One supplier refused his terms. He was shocked. He complained at home. "They're being difficult," he said. "They're being careful," I replied. He looked at me sharply. "Whose side are you on?" I met his eyes. "The side that lasts." He did not like that. But he did not understand it. That was fine. Understanding was not required. Timing was. I knew something he did not. This phase, this high, this control, it was temporary. It always is. And when it ended, it would not be gentle. Because he had built it without foundation. Without trust. Without loyalty. Without patience. He had built it on speed and ego. And ego cracks under weight. I did not need to push him. He was already running toward the edge. All I had to do was not stop him. He started acting like I owed him something, and that was when I knew he had fully forgotten who he was before me. Success can erase memory faster than time. At home, he no longer asked for advice. He gave it. About money. About decisions. About life. He spoke like a man who had always been ahead. I listened. Because men reveal their future in their words. One evening, he said, "You should be grateful. Most people don't get a second chance after failure." I looked at him. Steady. "I never failed." He laughed. Not kindly. "You lost the business." I nodded. "No. I gave it." He frowned. "That's not how it works." I smiled. "It will be." That confused him. He hated confusion. Because confusion meant lack of control. At family gatherings, he became the center. Telling stories. Showing confidence. Speaking about growth. About expansion. About plans. People admired him. They also watched me. They expected bitterness. They got calm. That unsettled them. One aunt pulled me aside once. She whispered, "Are you okay?" I said, "Better than ever." She did not believe me. That was fine. Belief is not required for truth. He started making comments. Small, sharp, disrespectful. In front of others. Some people don't have vision. Some people are too cautious. Some people get comfortable and stay small. He always looked at me when he said it. I always nodded. He did not understand that I was agreeing. Comfort is dangerous. Staying small is safe. He was neither. He was expanding without support. At work, he began rearranging departments, moving people around, promoting quickly, demoting carelessly. He wanted loyalty. He created fear. One employee resigned without notice. Another asked for a transfer. A third started calling in sick. He complained about them. "They're weak," he said. I said, "They're human." He rolled his eyes. Power makes men forget humanity. He started using the phrase, "my company." Not ours. Not the team's. Mine. That word changed his posture. Ownership without humility always leads to isolation. I noticed he stopped sharing information with me, even small things, even basic updates. He wanted separation. I welcomed it. Distance gives perspective. One afternoon, I walked into the break room. 2 employees stopped talking. I smiled. "Don't stop." They hesitated. Then one said quietly, "He's not stable." I looked at him. "How so?" "He changes direction every day. We don't know what he wants." I nodded. Uncertainty kills motivation. A leader's job is clarity. He was creating fog. That same week, a longtime partner called me. He said, "We're reconsidering our relationship." I asked why. He paused. "Your brother is difficult." I smiled. "He always was." He laughed nervously. "We're just being cautious." I said, "That's wise." After the call, I sat quietly. People were pulling away. He did not see it. He was too busy chasing. At home, tension grew. He became impatient. He interrupted. He dismissed. Once, I suggested a small idea. Something simple. Something helpful. He said, "Stay in your lane." That was the moment. Not because it hurt. Because it confirmed. He no longer saw me as family. He saw me as background. And when someone reduces you, they reveal their insecurity. Strong men don't push others down. Weak men do. I did not argue. I did not correct him. I did not remind him of the past. I let him believe his version. Because men who rewrite history usually trip over it. He began hiding things. Taking calls outside. Locking his phone. Lowering his voice. Secrets grow in insecurity. One night, he came home late. Quiet. Tense. He barely spoke. I watched him eat. His hands were shaking. Pressure. It was building. And pressure always seeks release. He started snapping at staff. Threatening. Warning. Intimidating. He thought fear would hold things together. Fear only holds people until they find a door. And people were looking for doors. One young manager came to me. He whispered, "I'm thinking of leaving." I asked, "Why?" He hesitated. "I don't trust him." I nodded. "Then you already know." He left a month later. So did 2 others. He complained about loyalty. I thought about it. Loyalty is not demanded. It is earned. He was demanding. I was earning. Even without trying. That was the difference. At family dinner one night, he made a joke about me being old school. Everyone laughed. I smiled. Because old school builds foundations. New school builds noise. Noise fades. He leaned over and whispered, "Don't take it personally." I said, "I never do." He looked at me, trying to read something. He could not. Because calm hides everything. He was surrounded by people. But he was alone. I was surrounded by silence. But I was supported. He did not know it yet. But he was already standing on thin ice. And the ice was cracking. Quietly. He thought respect came with position, but respect only follows character. And his character was starting to show. The office atmosphere changed. Not suddenly. Slowly. Like air becoming heavy before a storm. People spoke less. Smiled less. Stayed in their seats more. Left on time. Energy was disappearing. He did not notice. He was too busy being important. One morning, I arrived and saw 2 desks empty. No explanation. No goodbye. By noon, I heard they had resigned. He was angry. He called a meeting. He spoke sharply. He blamed commitment. He blamed attitude. He blamed the generation. He never blamed himself. I sat quietly, because self-awareness is rare in men who crave control. After the meeting, one of the senior staff came to me. His voice was low. "This is going to collapse," he said. I looked at him. "Everything does." He frowned. "Not everything." I nodded. "Everything that forgets why it exists." He did not understand. He would. My brother started micromanaging. Watching screens. Checking logs. Reviewing small details. He wanted control. Control is a sign of fear. Confident leaders trust. Fearful leaders monitor. He was monitoring everything. Except himself. One afternoon, a client arrived unannounced. He was upset. Loud. Frustrated. He demanded to see my brother. My brother was in a meeting. He told the receptionist to make him wait. The client grew angrier. I walked out and spoke to him calmly. He vented. He complained. He explained broken promises. I listened. That calmed him. By the time my brother came out, the damage was done. Not publicly. Internally. Because the client trusted me. Not him. Later, my brother confronted me. "Why did you talk to him?" he asked. "Because he was upset," I replied. "He should talk to me," he snapped. "He wanted to," I said. "You were busy." He stared at me. That stare was not gratitude. It was suspicion. Because men who feel their power slipping always look for enemies. He was starting to see me as one. Not because I threatened him. Because I did not fear him. That unsettled him. At home, his mood changed. He was shorter, sharper, quieter. He spent more time alone. He stopped sharing details. Isolation was setting in. And isolation makes men dangerous. Not to others. To themselves. He began overpromising. On deadlines. On quality. On capacity. He wanted to prove something. I knew what. He wanted to prove he was better than me. That comparison was killing him. I had stopped competing. He could not. One evening, he said, "People listen to me now." I looked at him. "Do they?" He frowned. "Of course." I nodded. "Good." But inside, I knew they were listening. Not following. Listening is easy. Following is loyalty. He had none. He began getting calls late at night. Heated calls. Short calls. Stressful calls. I could hear his voice through the walls. I said I'd handle it. "No, that's not acceptable. Figure it out." He was fighting fires. Not building systems. Fires burn out. Systems last. At work, mistakes started happening. Orders wrong. Deliveries late. Invoices incorrect. He blamed staff. I watched. He corrected loudly. I corrected quietly. People came to me. Not him. That told me everything. One young employee asked me, "Why are you still here?" I smiled. "Because I'm needed." He nodded. He understood. My brother started coming in earlier and leaving later. He looked tired. His eyes were heavy. Pressure was eating him. He was chasing an image. Not stability. One afternoon, I found him sitting alone in his office. Lights off. Head in hands. He did not see me. For a moment, I felt something. Not pity. Memory. I remembered him younger. Hungry. Hopeful. Dependent. I almost spoke. Almost. Then I remembered the papers. The signature. The smirk. And I stayed silent. Because some lessons cannot be taught. They must be lived. He looked up and saw me. His expression hardened. "What?" he said. "Nothing," I replied. And I meant it. Because nothing was exactly what he was heading toward. At dinner that night, he barely ate. He pushed food around his plate. He was thinking. Worried. Stressed. He finally said, "You wouldn't survive this pressure." I looked at him. "You're right." He smiled. He thought he had won again. He did not know that pressure had already crushed him. He just had not heard the crack yet. People were distancing themselves. Partners were hesitating. Staff were disengaging. Clients were questioning. He was standing on a shrinking island. And he still thought he was on a mountain. I watched it all. Patient. Silent. Because collapse does not announce itself. It whispers. And only those who are quiet can hear it. He signed a contract that night that would quietly destroy everything he had stolen from me. I did not know the details yet, but I could feel the shift. When a man crosses a line he cannot see, something in the air changes. The room becomes heavier. The silence becomes thicker. Even the light feels different. He came home late. Later than usual. His shoes were dusty. His jacket was unbuttoned. His face was tight. He did not greet me. He did not eat. He went straight to his room. That told me more than any confession ever could. Men who make dangerous decisions do not talk about them. They hide them. The next morning, he was overly confident. Too confident. He joked. He laughed. He spoke loudly. He acted like a man who had just won something big. That kind of confidence is always borrowed. At the office, he called a sudden meeting. Everyone gathered. He stood at the front, chest out, voice strong. "We're entering a major partnership," he announced. People murmured. He smiled like a man who expected applause. "This will change everything," he said. I watched his eyes. They were not calm. They were sharp. There is a difference. Sharp eyes belong to men who are cutting corners. After the meeting, he pulled me aside. "You'll see," he said. "This is how you grow." I looked at him. Fast growth breaks weak roots. He smirked. "You're thinking too small." I nodded. He was thinking too big. Big without support. Big without structure. Big without loyalty. Big without wisdom. That combination always ends the same. Throughout the day, phones rang constantly. Staff rushed. Emails flooded. People were confused. He loved it. Chaos makes insecure men feel important. I stayed still. Because stillness sees everything. One of the senior managers came to me quietly. "This deal doesn't feel right," he said. I asked, "Why?" He pushed it through. No review. No time. I nodded. Rushed deals always hide something. He added, "He wouldn't listen." I smiled. He never does. The manager looked at me carefully. "What should we do?" I looked back. "Your job." He hesitated, then nodded. He trusted me, not him. That gap was widening. By afternoon, a supplier refused to move forward. He was upset, loud, uncooperative. My brother shouted at him. The supplier walked out. Doors closing, one by one. He blamed everyone. I watched. One employee whispered, "This is getting bad." I said, "It's getting honest." Because bad things reveal truth. He began micromanaging even more. Standing over desks. Checking screens. Interrupting conversations. Fear was driving him. Fear always drives men into mistakes. He pulled me into his office. "You're not helping," he said. I looked at him. "You asked me not to." He frowned. "You could at least support me." I smiled. "I am." He did not like that. Support that is not visible feels like opposition to insecure men. He leaned forward. "Don't undermine me." I met his eyes. "I never have." That was true. I did not need to. He was doing it himself. At home, tension became constant. He snapped at small things. He criticized. He corrected. He was losing control. Men who feel control slipping become sharp. Sharp words. Sharp looks. Sharp tone. Everything sharp. He came home one night and threw his keys on the table. "Nothing works," he said. I said nothing. He looked at me. "Say something." I looked at him calmly. "You're tired." He scoffed. "You wouldn't last a week." I nodded. "Probably not." He laughed. But there was no joy in it. Just relief. Because he needed to believe that. He needed to believe I was weaker. It helped him survive his own pressure. At work, mistakes multiplied. Deadlines missed. Orders wrong. Complaints increased. He blamed staff. Staff blamed management. Management was him. He did not accept that. One afternoon, a client asked for me by name. Not him. Me. The receptionist hesitated, then sent him to my desk. The client shook my hand. Hard. Grateful. "Thank you for seeing me," he said. I smiled. "Of course." He leaned in. "I don't trust your brother." I said nothing. He continued. "He's reckless." I nodded. He exhaled. "I'm thinking of pulling out." I looked at him. "That's your decision." He studied my face. "What would you do?" I paused, then said, "Protect yourself." He nodded. He left. Another door. Closing. He did not tell my brother. He did not need to. Silence is louder than words. Later that day, my brother confronted me again. "Why are people coming to you?" he asked. I looked at him. "Because they know me." He frowned. "They should know me." I nodded. "They do." That answer bothered him. Because he knew it was not true. He was being seen. And not in a good way. He started accusing. Questioning. Watching. He was suspicious now. Suspicion is a sign of insecurity. Strong men trust. Weak men doubt. He was doubting everything. Except himself. One evening, I overheard him arguing on the phone. "You said it was guaranteed." "No, I can't afford that." "Fix it." He hung up hard. He paced. He rubbed his face. He was cracking. Not loudly. Quietly. The dangerous way. I sat in the living room and listened. I did not intervene. Because this was not my fire. It was his. And he had lit it himself. He came out and saw me. "You're enjoying this," he said. I looked at him. "No." He sneered. "You always wanted me to fail." I met his eyes. "I wanted you to remember." He did not understand. He did not want to. Understanding requires humility. He had none. That night, he did not sleep. I could hear him walking. Restless. Anxious. Trapped in his own thoughts. Pressure was closing in. And pressure always reveals the weakest part. The next morning, a major issue surfaced. Big. Public. Impossible to hide. Clients were angry. Staff were confused. Suppliers were hesitant. He was overwhelmed. He stood in the middle of it all, trying to control everything. He failed. Control slipped. People saw. For the first time, they saw. Not the confident leader. The desperate man. That image does not leave easily. I watched quietly. Because the rising conflict had finally arrived. And he was standing in the center of it. Alone. He lost his first major client that morning, and I could see the panic in his eyes before he could hide it. Panic is quiet at first. It shows in the hands, in the jaw, in the way a man avoids looking at others. He stood in the hallway, phone pressed to his ear, nodding too much, saying yes too quickly. Yes. Yes. I understand. Of course. We'll fix it. When he hung up, he did not move. He just stood there, staring. I walked past him. He did not speak. That told me everything. He went into his office and closed the door. Hard. Louder than necessary. Inside, I heard his voice. Raised. Sharp. Blaming someone. Probably everyone. Except himself. Staff began whispering. Low voices. Quick glances. What happened? Did we lose them? He messed up again. I did not join. I did not react. I listened. Because this was the phase where damage becomes visible. And visible damage changes loyalty. He came out an hour later, face tight, eyes hard. We're restructuring, he announced. No explanation. No discussion. Just command. Restructuring is the word men use when they are afraid. He started cutting budgets, reducing staff hours, canceling plans. Panic management, not strategy. One employee approached me quietly. Is he serious? I said, he's scared. The employee looked at me. Of what? I paused. Of losing control. He nodded. People understand more than leaders think. At lunch, he barely touched his food. He stared at his phone. He sighed often. Pressure was squeezing him. I stayed calm. Because calm unnerves pressured men. One of the senior partners called me that afternoon. Not him. Me. He said, we're reviewing our involvement. I said, that's understandable. He hesitated. Between us, he's unstable. I smiled. He's under pressure. He lowered his voice. He's making risky moves. I nodded. He always does when he's afraid. Silence. Then he said, we trust you. That was important. Trust. It was still mine. Even without ownership. That is real power. He walked past me later and saw me on the phone. Who was that? He asked sharply. A friend, I replied. He did not believe me. Suspicion had settled in. And suspicion eats energy. He started watching me, listening, observing. He thought I was planning something. I was. But not what he imagined. He called a staff meeting. Emergency. Everyone gathered. He spoke about commitment, about loyalty, about sacrifice. He looked at people like they owed him. That never works. People give loyalty. They do not surrender it. The room was quiet. No enthusiasm. No support. Just silence. Silence is louder than disagreement. He felt it. He shifted. He cleared his throat. He spoke faster. He ended quickly. When people left, no one stayed behind. That is another sign. Leaders who inspire have followers. Leaders who intimidate have exits. At home, he was tense. He paced. He snapped. He complained. Everyone is against me, he said. I said, no one is with you. He froze. He turned. What did you say? I looked at him calmly. You're standing alone. He laughed. Forced. You're imagining things. I nodded. Maybe. But I saw his eyes. He knew. He began making calls. Late. Desperate. Offering deals. Promising things. Men who promise too much are already losing. One night, he came into the living room and sat down heavily. He looked at me. For a moment, he looked tired. Almost small. Then he straightened. I don't need anyone, he said. I said nothing. Because men who announce independence are usually begging for support. The next day, another client complained. Publicly. Loudly. It reached staff. It reached partners. It reached ears that mattered. He was humiliated. Not openly, but internally. And internal humiliation changes men. He became harsher, sharper, colder. He corrected people in front of others. He criticized openly. He lost patience. He lost control. One employee cried in the restroom. Another walked out. He blamed weakness. I saw damage. He pulled me aside again. "You're enjoying this," he said. I looked at him. "No. You want me to fail," he accused. I met his eyes. "You already decided that." He clenched his jaw. Because that hit. He was fighting an invisible enemy. Himself. One evening, I overheard him arguing with someone in the parking lot. Voice raised. Tone aggressive. "I don't care what you said before. No, I'm not backing out. You promised." Promises again. Promises are dangerous when made in fear. He slammed his car door. Drove off fast. Speeding. Men who drive fast are trying to escape something. I watched the taillights disappear, and I knew. This was accelerating. At work the next day, tension was thick. Phones rang. Voices were low. Eyes avoided. He walked in and sensed it. He hated it. He slammed his bag down. "Why is everyone quiet?" he snapped. No one answered. Silence again. He looked around. "Speak," he ordered. No one did. That was the moment. Not dramatic. Not loud. But clear. He had lost the room. And when a leader loses the room, he loses everything. He went into his office and closed the door. He stayed there. All day. Behind glass. Isolated. Trapped. Watching. Thinking. Breaking. I sat at my desk and worked. Focused. Unbothered. Because while he was fighting fires, I was watching the structure burn. And structures built on ego always burn fast. He came out near closing time. His face was pale. His eyes were red. He looked at me. For a moment, there was something there. Fear. Then it vanished. Replaced by pride. He straightened. "We'll be fine," he said. I nodded. Of course. He walked away. But his footsteps were heavy. Because he knew. He felt it. The ground was no longer solid. And the fall was coming. He crossed a line that afternoon that could never be erased, and I knew at the moment I heard his voice. Some decisions carry weight. Others carry consequences. This one carried both. He walked into the office late, eyes sharp, jaw tight, phone still in his hand. He did not greet anyone. He did not sit. He went straight into his office and slammed the door. Inside, he started shouting. Not at someone in the room. At someone on the phone. "I don't care what it takes," he said. "No, I already agreed. Make it work." I froze. Not because of the volume. Because of the tone. That was not confidence. That was desperation pretending to be authority. He came out minutes later and called the operations manager. "Cancel the checks," he said. The manager hesitated. "But the agreement." "Do it," he snapped. The manager looked at me. I said nothing. He nodded slowly and walked away. That was when I knew. He was cutting something critical. And men who cut critical corners usually cut themselves. By midday, phones started ringing. One after another. Staff grew tense. Voices lowered. A supplier walked in. Angry. Loud. Demanding. He went straight to my brother's office. The door closed. The voices rose. The argument lasted 15 minutes. When the supplier came out, his face was red. His hands were shaking. He walked past me and said quietly, This will cost him. I nodded. I believed him. My brother came out moments later, face hard, eyes cold. He's bluffing, he said to no one. But his voice was not steady. He was trying to convince himself. The staff watched. They always do. He started pacing. He started muttering. He started snapping. Pressure was no longer hidden. It was visible. And visible pressure scares people. One employee came to me and whispered, "Is this legal?" I looked at him. Probably not. He swallowed. What should I do? I said, "Protect yourself." He nodded and walked away. Another crack. He called another meeting. Emergency. Again. People gathered. He spoke about challenges. About resilience. About commitment. His words were loud. But his eyes were tired. Tired eyes don't convince anyone. He ended with, "We're all in this together." No one clapped. That silence was heavy. He felt it. He forced a smile. It did not reach his eyes. At home that night, he was agitated. He paced. He snapped. He criticized. He poured a drink. Then another. Then another. He never drank much before. That told me something. Men who start drinking under pressure are already losing. He said, "Everyone is incompetent." I said nothing. He said, "I'm carrying this whole thing." I said nothing. He said, "You never supported me." I looked at him. "You never asked." He stared at me. Anger flickered. Then doubt. Then pride. He turned away. He did not sleep. I could hear him walking. Opening drawers. Closing doors. Restless. Haunted. The next morning, a letter arrived. Legal. Serious. He read it. I saw his face change. Not slowly. Instantly. Color drained. His hands trembled. He sat down hard. For a moment, he looked small. Very small. He stood up and looked at me. "What is this?" he asked. I read the first line. It was a notice. A warning. A problem. A big one. I handed it back. He swallowed. "This is nothing," he said. But his voice shook. He went into his office and closed the door. Locked it. He did not come out for hours. Phones rang. Staff whispered. Tension thickened. The manager came to me. "What's happening?" he asked. I said, "Consequences." He nodded. He understood. When my brother finally came out, his eyes were red. His jaw was clenched. "We're fine," he announced. No one believed him. He could feel it. He slammed his hand on a desk. "We are fine." Silence. No one responded. That silence was dangerous, because it was not fear. It was detachment. He had lost them, not because he failed, because he broke trust, and trust does not come back. One employee handed in his resignation. Then another. Then another. He watched it happen. Helpless. He started making calls. Desperate calls. Fast calls. "I need you. Don't pull out. Just wait." Begging disguised as negotiation. Pride was gone. Survival had arrived. At home, he finally cracked. He threw a glass against the wall. It shattered. He shouted. He blamed. He cursed. He sat down and put his head in his hands. For a moment, he looked at me. Not as a rival. Not as a threat. As a brother. He said, "I didn't mean for it to go this way." I looked at him. "Come. Steady. You never mean to fall," I said. "You just run too fast." He closed his eyes. That hit. Because it was true. The next day, the problem became public. Not loud. But official. Emails. Calls. Meetings. Serious faces. Serious tones. Serious consequences. He was summoned. He went pale. He asked me, "Will you come with me?" I looked at him. For the first time in a long time, he looked afraid. Not angry. Not proud. Afraid. I said, "No." He stared. "Why?" he asked. I said, "Because you wanted control." He said nothing. He nodded slowly. He went alone. And in that moment, I saw it. The boy who once needed me. The man who betrayed me. The leader who failed himself. All in one. When he returned, he did not speak. He sat, stared, broke. He had crossed a line. And now, he was paying for it. Not because of me. Because of himself. And that is the hardest justice. The kind you cannot argue with. The kind you cannot escape. The kind that follows you quietly. And stays.